Welcome to ND and Me, a podcast to share NDers' lived experiences. I'm Richard, an ND coach, mentor, accountability buddy, and business consultant. Today, we're joined by Patrick Bevan.
Hello, yes, thank you, Richard. I'm Patrick Bevan. I'm ADHD, diagnosed 4 years ago. I had a very long career in the city, HSBC, Deloitte, etc., and have just left and set about with my own business as a change advisor.
Fantastic. So when did you get your diagnosis?
See, I've got ADHD, so I don't remember. Genuinely, I think it was 2018. It came about, so I have a 14-year-old daughter, and she got diagnosed, and in that I saw a lot of the same signs in me, and I genuinely went to get my diagnosis to help her because I could see the struggles she was having, and I wasn't sure if I'd get it, but I pretty much got 100%. It's the first exam I think I've ever got 100% on, and yeah, and it's answered a lot of questions for what went on in my past, and it certainly helps for Jessica, my daughter, for her to see, she's not alone in the house with this one.
Yeah. No, it's really tough. Well, it was for me, realizing that so many of the things that didn't go to plan weren't my fault, or there was another thing at play that added to it. So how did you get into banking and professional services from being ADHD growing up?
By pure accident. And I'll use this as a quick CV if you like, because I wonder how much of this is going to ring true with you. I was the clever kid at school that was always being told off for being lazy and not paying attention. Now, I think I've lost a lot of my anger. I was angry about school most of my life, but I've lost that now. I'm past that. I'm far too old to worry about that. I bumbled through, got a few O levels, did some A levels, completely failed them because I just didn't turn up. I just found school too difficult to turn up in. I now know that's because I didn't know what was going on. I could forget the start of a sentence by the time I get to the end of a sentence. I really struggled. But I was just a difficult child. I was lazy and didn't put any effort in. Obviously, we now know that's ADHD. Spin it forward. I ran a TV shop because I didn't get to go to university because I didn't have A levels in Hull. I then bumped into a boyfriend of a friend of mine who had his own fund management company in London, David Harding. And he said, well, come and work for me. And it was the best thing I did because he threw me into the deep end of this new computerized trading fund management system where everyone in the same room as me had a doctorate. And I was just scared. But it was a hell of a lot of problems to fix because it was a live trading environment. We were coming up with new ideas and putting them on the system every day. I was in my element. And I went through that until the company was built. Then it got a bit boring. I went to New York to be a broker for a while. We don't talk about that anymore. That was fun, but I remember very, very little of it. And just through kind of connections, I ended up at HSBC running change projects, which, again, looking back through the lens of somebody with an ADHD diagnosis, I think I spent a lot of my time and a lot of my time at Man as well, masking, trying to fit in the box. I now appreciate we're nice and fun and spiky and we need spikes. That all I wanted to do is please. I had a succession of bad bosses, had the odd good one, but a succession of bad bosses that just wanted me to conform. And that wasn't what I should have been doing in hindsight. And interestingly, it was HSBC that sent me on a management course, which was the first inkling I really had in my life that I was different. I always felt different. But I went and did this thing called Myers-Briggs, which some of you might know. And your typical banker is pretty much introverted thinking, judgment, sensing. I'm the complete opposite. So I'm the catalyst in the room. I'm the extrovert, intuit, the feeler. You should be careful with that one. And I'm perceptive. And that's my skills. And all through my career, I'm saying, I'm not sure I would trust them. Look at the facts. No, I wouldn't trust them. And it's all the facts that would be listened to. But I, for the first time, realised I'm different and they need me, but they just don't welcome me. I was, for various reasons, I just wouldn't I was too afraid to leave HSBC, young family, money coming in, hated it most of the time, but met quite a lot of good friends actually, so I still have. They made me redundant, which was nice of them, and paid me lots of money to go away, which I was happy with. And then I found Deloitte, which was a company I never thought I'd work for. I didn't like the idea of working away from home. I didn't like the way they work in networks. But actually, I've evolved more in Deloitte than I did in any time before, because I realized my skill as a networker. And another word I hate is that networking thing, but I'm a natural connector, and that's what Deloitte needs. And Deloitte has a hell of a lot of really good, strong people across all the spectrum of what you need. And I was in my element for a while. I worked on client work. I then started fixing internal projects, and I was there for about 8 years. And I think fortuitously that's where I was when I had my diagnosis. That's where I was, where I started to look back and actually get rid of a lot of the anger of, my teachers at school didn't know I had ADHD. They didn't in the 70s and 80s. That just wasn't a thing. My boss wasn't, we didn't have neurodiversity then. My boss didn't have a clue at HSBC how to look after me. And I see that while we're now starting to appreciate it and we're switching, I still worry that there's too much talk about neurodiversity and not enough actual management and coping, and how do you cope with a spiky Patrick type person. But I might find some really good people to work with at Deloitte. They were always good to me, and they've wished me well as I've decided to leave and set up my own company. So that's the short answer.
That's brilliant. I was always told off for being too brief when I wrote, because I'm dyslexic and have ADHD and a whole list of other things, and I just get bored. You want the answer? Well, the answer's 3 lines. You don't need a 500-word essay.
No, you do. You need 4 pages, because you've got to build a client. No, actually, that's not Deloitte. HSBC was all about writing tomes. Like, why?
You need 1,000 words, and it's plus or minus 10%. Yeah, but I can write it in 400 words. Why do you need 1,000?
It's a pile of. Do you want another word? No. Yes.
No.
How have you found Have you viewed your career history differently?
I was recently interviewed by Make a Difference Media. Article came out in the middle of September. Nearly every job I've left has been because of impulse control.
Right.
Every single one of them, at some point. Emotional regulation and impulse control is 99% of the reasons why. I got a job at MFI and I left after the first day. Why? Well, because I went for a sales job and they had me building furniture and they couldn't even be bothered to give me an induction or a contract. Well, I'm not going to come back tomorrow then. Yeah. A whole list of stuff. It's a really testing and trying time, and a lot of people just put it in a box and call it dealt with rather than actually spend time ruminating on stuff. So what really drove you to then go alone? Have you been doing some stuff in your spare time whilst at Deloitte, and now you've got enough work to do it on your own, or you just thought I'd take the plunge and see what happens?
It's the latter, but it's a little bit more cautious than that. I'm ready. It's funny you say impulse control. I think one of my learned behaviors is managing impulse control through fear. So I would never jump when I should have jumped HSBC many years ago. But I'm now at a point where I know what my strengths are, I know what my skills are. My self-esteem is good, where throughout most of my life it hasn't been. I've got a very solid, happy family life with the challenges that every family has. And I just thought, well, now is the time. I've sorted out a lot of problems in Deloitte, and I need brain food. And I think, well, there's a lot of people out there and companies that could do with my skills. particularly the sort that can't afford to get a big Deloitte team in.
Yeah.
So for instance, change advisor. What I mean by that is you're a small company, you need to change, you're running change, something's not going well with your change. I want to go and find them and go and do a number of days with them, kick the tires, tell them what's good and bad, sort it out, direct it, and then disappear. Because I'm not going to get bored. I've got my new toy to play with. I like helping people. I'm good at problem solving, and I can probably link people up with people in my network. And that's my business model that I've set out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it works. In that, I'm also coaching. So I've trained as a coach. I have not got the qualification as a coach, but I've been doing it for 20 years and I've been through the training courses. I've coached many people to success. And I know how important that is for somebody to have a sounding board and a partner to really be there on their side. And I want to have the time to explore that more with new and interesting people. So it's surprising me that I'm so calm. I'm now living my fear. I'm unemployed. No, I'm not. I've set up Change Alchemy. I've set up my own company. I've got no income. Well, we've got money in the bank for a while. I'm now living something I could never do. And I think it is a question of time. I was doing very well. I was senior in Deloitte, but I want to go and do something fun.
One of the hardest things that I've come to terms with is time dilation. You either get hyper focused on something and then you disappear for 3 hours, and then your kids get home from school and ask you when dinner is, and it's 7 o'clock. Well, it looks like I'm getting a takeaway. Or you're watching YouTube videos on 2 times speed just to remain engaged, and that constant tension between, is now the right time? How much time should I be focusing on stuff? How quickly am I going to get bored from this new novelty? So yeah, I everything that you're saying absolutely rings true. So what would have kept you at Deloitte? What could have been done to improve your working experience? Or do you think you had something deep within you that being your own boss was more appealing?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I'm pleased I can't think of an easy answer. I'm pleased it's not a case of, they'd make me a partner, because I was never on the partner path. And I think what's key is I've now broken out of that way of working. I've broken out of that fitting in those boxes, and I'm a funky, spiky, wobbly shaped individual. I'm not going to go and find somewhere else to work where I can fit in like that. I want to actually float all over the place. So I don't know that they could have. I mean, they could have said, here's lots more money, here's a new title, and in a year I'd just be bored. And I just don't think they had the variety to kind of keep me going. So they've helped me get to this point of now thinking, well, I've done good work for you, I'm going to go and do it elsewhere.
Brilliant. So you said that you've had some good managers and bad managers along the way. What were some of the behaviors of the good managers that you wish you saw more of?
It's quite simple. It's taking time to get to know the individual. So taking time to get to know me, not dictatorially saying you fit in my box. I had back at Man, I had somebody I considered a good manager, and she was learning to manage at the time, Miranda Davey. I'll call her out. I think I was the first person she managed, and it wasn't easy because I'd never been managed. I used to run a telly shop badly. I sold tellies, and she got me. She understood me
because she took the time to understand you.
I'm thinking, I've had good bosses at Deloitte as well. Actually, the first guy I worked for there, he was a partner, and I think we clicked well, where he knew what he could rely on me for, and kind of gave me the freedom to be me.
Fantastic. The challenges of home life and ADHD. It's just you and your daughter, and NDers, or are there other people in the family that
My wife is
join them into the pot.
frustrated that she is not diagnosed with anything, but almost certainly on the spectrum.
Okay.
My son is on the spectrum, the autistic spectrum. My daughter is also on the spectrum. I'm probably on the spectrum. So we're all over the shop, and yeah, all very different.
Mm.
You know, I'd say my son and my wife are probably more of the black and white type, and my daughter and I are just nutty, flexible, annoying types.
There's a reason why I don't have a straight nose.
I never had that, and yeah, nearly.
Yeah, no, that was my sister's ex-boyfriend. He was left-handed. Anyway,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's an odd direction. So have you found that those diagnoses, that is the plural of diagnosis, is it not? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
English problems. Do you think they've been more of a help or a hindrance? You know, the label, or at least the acknowledgement, so you can go and get support for you and the kids.
It's been no. So my son has been in a special area of a mainstream school and just blasted his GCSEs. He's doing A levels now. My daughter is struggling, and I don't want to talk about that too much here, but there's a lot of issues there that we are not getting the support for because it just doesn't exist.
Right.
And we are fighting tooth and nail to get it. So we've got a balance of yes and no on that one. I think it's helped me understand more about what I want. I grew up very, very much trying to put on a mask of I'm going to grow up, have a Volvo, wife and 2 kids, and a Labrador.
Yeah.
So what have we got? We haven't got a Volvo, but we've got 2 kids and a red setter. But it's very different to that. Look at me, everything's normal mask I always wanted to portray, which I did until I was probably 30 odd and just started going, I haven't got the energy for this anymore. And that's why first, we haven't touched on it here, but I suffered a lot of depression in my early 30s, and I've now kind of pinned that back to the tension of almost living that masked life when I didn't even want to be living it anymore, and that going pop. So with the kids' diagnosis, I want to make sure they're allowed to be themselves and they don't have any aspirations. My parents never expected me to do anything, but I made this up for myself. So we make it very clear that they can go and be themselves. So isn't it about time I went to be myself? And that's the sort of thing my daughter would pick me up on all the time. Constant battle to appreciate that you're bringing in neurodiverse people. You need different shaped boxes for them.
Yeah. And
that's hard. That's hard for the non-neurodiverse. What do you need, a bigger chair? Or like, what can they do? And it's actually on the emotional side, it's a different type of support. And it is a known problem that lots of neurodiverse people are getting jobs, and that's great. And then they're leaving very quickly because they're not being fulfilled in the way they can be. So that's the thing.
Yeah. I was going to put words in your mouth, but I didn't.
Go on, do please.
Well, yeah, I definitely think there's a conversation about fulfillment, and there's also a conversation about the support to be able to be fulfilled. Yeah, if you really enjoy your job, you'll put up with a lot because you enjoy the work that you do. But if it's engaging but not always engaging, and you don't have support to fully immerse yourself in the world, then it's going to be much harder to carry on.
There's one thing I always use with people I coach, and it's a simple thing. Look it up. It's called Ikigai, and it's fulfillment. And it's where your passion, if you're passionate about it, you're good at it, you get paid for it, and the world needs it, you find fulfillment. But you take any one of those 4 aspects away, and you get an emptiness. So it's, I have coached many people in Deloitte, and it's, what do you want to do? Oh, you want to get to a senior manager. That's great. So what do you really want to do? Oh, you want to be a farmer. Okay. And it's that separation of what you should be doing, actually what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's helping people to. I'm setting myself out to try and help people find their real outcomes. That's part of my pitch. That's part of where I will get real joy.
So, is there anything in the ending of the conversation that you wished we'd talked about but haven't?
No, but I always say no, but I would say if anyone's coming to this and watching this as, you know, similar to you and I, late in life diagnosis, probably done a lot of career already, struggled with it, just get out there and shout about it. Get out there, and we're not going to fix the past, but it's people like us that can actually see what the issues were and what the challenges were and start correcting for the future. And the more people we can get on board, not just flag waving on LinkedIn, because that frustrates me more than anything, but actually giving real lived experience, using that to make the steps towards change in the future. And we're not going to get it right first time. It's going to be hard, and we've got to allow businesses to mess up.
Yeah.
But so long as they start moving forward and appreciating the skills we can bring, that's probably my key message on this. That's
fantastic, Patrick. So with a minute left, I'm going to thank you very much for coming on. You're one of the first to sit down with me for half an hour or so and have a chat about how neurodiversity has affected you in your life, and hearing about Change Alchemy, hearing the purpose that you've really found behind wanting to go it on your own is really invigorating, and I hope that listeners and watchers can get something from that. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. Yes.